morning, children. Today we are going to start with the poem Where Do All the Teachers Go? This poem is written by Peter Dixon. So this poem it speaks about child's love and curiosity for his or her teacher. See, teachers are just next to super beings for children. They can't imagine that teachers are also ordinary human beings. So we are going to start with this poem. So, before we begin, we'll discuss about the poet. Peter Dixon is a poet, performer, and educationist. His poetry and outlook centers on the potential of human imagination and the importance of learning being enjoyable and rewarding. Peter is also a prolific visual artist whose paintings have developed something of a cult following with a number of galleries in London and the south of England, showcasing his distinctive work on a regular basis. So he was just an imaginative poet who used to write about the imaginary things. So let's begin with this poem. Where do all the teachers go when it's 4 o'clock? Do they live in houses and do they wash their socks? So, in this first stanza, the child wonders and questions where all the teachers go after the school hours. When it is 4 o'clock, he wants to know if, like any other ordinary being, they also live in houses and wash their socks. Means, do they also do all the routine work like other people? So, child is surprised here and he wants to know that what all things his teachers used to do. Now in the second stanza, do they wear pajamas and do they watch TV? And do they pick their noses the same as you and me? So here the child wants to know if teachers also wear clothes like pajamas the way the children used to wear at home, and even the teachers also watch TV like them. So he is very curious to know all these things, all the activities which are done by the teacher. And he says, do they also clean their noses the way other people do and waste their time? So in the stanza he wants to know the activities of the teachers, what all things they used to do, that whether they also wear the clothes like the children used to wear, or even they used to watch TV or not, and or do they also pick their noses or waste their time the way the kids used to. So he is curious to know all these things. So now in the third stanza, do they live with other people? Have they mums and dads? And were they ever children? And were they ever bad? So further in this stanza, the child wonders by asking if they're also surrounded by people, if they are also having parents and children like us to live with. Did they commit any mistake or did anything wrong when they were children? So child wants to know all these things, whether they also used to do such things or not. Did they ever never spell right? Did they ever make mistakes? Were they punished in the corner if they pinched the chocolate flakes? So here in this stanza, the child wants to know that if they also made mistakes or were ever punished for stealing chocolates or doing any silly or naughty things. So he wants to know that were they always perfect? So, or they might have committed certain mistakes, because whenever you are talking to a teacher resembles himself or herself to be Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect. For a child, his teacher is a superhero. So he feels that his teacher can never do any mistakes. His teacher can never do such things which a child generally does. So he wants to know that whether his teachers also used to do such things the way the kids used to do. Were his teachers also punished in the corners? Or have they ever pinched the chocolate flakes? You might have seen kids when teachers are teaching in the class, some of the naughty children, what they used to do, They used to open their lunch boxes and slowly and steadily they used to have the bites, isn't it? So here the child also wants to know that were his teachers also used to do such things? Did they ever lose their hymn books? Did they ever leave their greens? Did they scribble on the desk? Did they wear old dirty jeans? So here the poet wants to know that if the teachers also ever lost their religious books, and he wants to know if they also made mistakes or were punished. He wants to know that did they also say no to green vegetables? Did they also waste time by scribbling on tables and wearing old jeans? So, hymn books are the religious books. So, generally, in Christian presentation schools or in Christian schools, the children they used to carry their religious books. So, the child wants to know that did these teachers, when they were kids, did they ever lose their hymn books, those religious books? Did they ever leave their greens? So here leave their greens could be taken in two ways, because poetry is an imagination. So we cannot say that the perspective of the poet, because poetry cannot be restricted to one area. So leave their greens could be leaving the green vegetables or leaving the playgrounds. Clear? So here the poet wants to say that did my teachers also leave the greens? Did they also leave the green vegetables? Because generally, what the children used to do, they used to leave their vegetables. They used to have the chapatis or the sandwiches, but they generally leave the vegetables, green leafy vegetables. Did they scribble on the desktop? So, what the kids used to do, they keep on writing on the desk, isn't it? And a number of odd times they get scolding from the teachers, why you're spoiling school's property. But kids, they have the habit of scribbling, they have the habit of writing something on the desk. So here the child wants to know that did my teachers also scribble on the desktop? And then he wants to know that did they wear old dirty jeans? The way the kids used to spoil their clothes, did my teachers also used to do such things? So, in the last stanza, the child says, I'll follow one back home today. I'll find out what they do. Then I'll put in a poem that they can read to you. So, here the child says, just to overcome his curiosity, the child he decides to follow or spy his teacher, that he's going to follow his teacher on his way home after school. He planned that today he'll follow his teacher, he'll spy his teacher when she'll go back home, when he'll go back home. And once he is clear about everything, he would also like to compose or write a poem about it and thinks that the teacher would read the poem to his students. So he wants that I'll spy the teacher, I'll follow my teacher, and I'll work out on all these things, what all things my teacher used to do at home. And once I'll come to know, I'll put them in a poem. I'll write a poem about it so that teacher will read it out for the children. Clear? So, what this whole summary about this poem is, for young kids, a teacher is an extraordinary special person, isn't it? For children, they feel my teacher is an extraordinary special person who has come from somewhere else. It is difficult for a small child to accept that a teacher is also any common man or woman living around him. See, imagine if you'll ask a small child that 2 plus 2, if he might have written it as 5, maybe by mistake, and his mother will tell, no, it's wrong, you have to change it and you will write 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. But the child will say, no, my teacher has made me write that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Maybe that's by mistake. But the child will never listen to his mother or somebody else, because he feels that his teacher is always right. He never thinks that his teachers could be normal or a common human beings. The child wonders and questions if teachers also behave like other people, if they also do all the work or things other people do. Like, do they live in houses? Do they wear pajamas like clothes, wash socks, or watch TV? Do they also have parents and children to live with? All these questions bother a child's mind, and out of curiosity, one day this child decides to follow his teachers, to keep a check, and to write a poem about them so that the teachers read that poem to their students. It also shows the cuteness, the purity, curiosity, and dilemma a young mind has for his teachers. It also shows the expectations for the teachers. So, as a whole, this is really a wonderful poem where a child has written about his feelings. The poet has written about child's feelings, about his teacher, what all things he wants to know, the curiosity which is there in the child's mind. Like when we were also kid, and we also used to think like this only, that what my teachers used to do. So in the same way, when for children, they also think that what their teachers used to do. So such curiosity is always there in the children. So I hope you might have understood. Take care.